Imposter syndrome. Do you have it? Do you even know what it is? So we're going to talk about imposter syndrome today. What is it? Why do we feel this way? Is it a valid feeling, and how to get over it? And I was just saying to Lydia before we started filming, I think this is something I have, or at least have it at times, but I don't fully understand it. So this definitely is over to Lydia on this one. But I'm sure, again, as always, I shall pipe in.
Right, it's about doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud, like you don't know what you're doing, basically.
Or you're not worthy of it.
Yeah. So there's signs of it, like fear of not living to expectations, self-doubt, berating your performances, thinking you're not. Yeah, basically, it's a little bit like your self-worth again, the old imposter syndrome, I think.
But in a kind of... Is imposter syndrome just in a business sense, or is it in every sense?
It can be in any sense. It's like, even like, say, me being a PT, not believing in what I do.
Okay.
That can be linked to that as well. Even though I've got all the credentials and qualifications,
Yes.
it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean
Yeah.
I feel like I'm any good at it.
Yeah, and it was... I think this has really come to the forefront recently because Adele said she suffers from imposter syndrome, and because not everyone knows you, Adele is a superstar singer. We have to say that because not everyone will know her because no one knows us. That's another video you have to look at. But yeah, so imposter syndrome.
And there's reasons why it happens. There's lots of, there's loads of reasons why, which can go into your deepness of how you are, your family dynamics, gender, stereotyping, upbringing, personality traits, perfectionism. Loads of different things that can be looked at why we do the old imposter syndrome. It comes through, again, mental health, negative, positive emotions. I think it's all linked to that.
Could it also be linked to... we were talking about this in a previous video in the No One Knows You, and the fact that it could be because you've always been known for this one thing, and suddenly you're changing tact. So it's like, actually, well, no one knows me as that. So that obviously I'm an imposter because everyone's always known me as, I don't know, a barmaid, and suddenly I'm becoming a dancer in a Broadway show, and that therefore I shouldn't be that because everyone knows me as a barmaid. Could it be something where you're changing career and suddenly you think, well, everyone knows me as doing this one thing, and suddenly I'm changing. Should I be doing this? Having that self-doubt.
Yeah, it's always that fear, isn't it? It's fear of things. It always links back to fear. But I think how to handle it is going back to your own core beliefs and the believing in yourself and what you can do. I think a good way to do that is write it down as well. And that helps, going back to your gratitudes and writing down your strengths and what you are good at, and just recapping on this is why you can do it.
And I guess look at your goals. With that, writing back and writing your goals down, looking back at your goals. And again, I mean, all of our videos kind of link because we've just done one about comparison. Is it could be that whatever it is you're doing is you're comparing yourself to someone that's uber successful in that. So you're thinking, well, they've already done that. They're really successful. So therefore, why am I even trying? Because they're successful, but everyone started from day one.
Well, this is it,
didn't they? Everyone started from the beginning.
Yeah.
No one just landed into something and became an overnight success. It just doesn't work like that.
And no one's perfect. It goes back to perfectionism again.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be perfect to be approved with it as well.
Approval. Is that it? Is it that we think it? Do we think we are imposters until we've got approval from something or someone?
Yeah, to get it's like that validation.
Validation and approval.
Yeah. But if you're in a business-minded aspect and that you've got that job, and you've got that job for a reason, you're obviously good at it, but you don't believe yourself and you don't feel that you are good enough until someone actually goes, you're good at this.
It really holds you back. I know it holds me back in what I'm doing.
But then you do need validation sometimes to... we all need that bit of validation to know that we are good at what we do, to give us that confidence.
Yes, yeah.
So I think then validation is important. You shouldn't have to expect to get it from every single thing though, but I think it is important now and again to get a little bit, to know you are doing the right thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that with the stuff that I do away from mine and Lydia's videos, and I always put mine and Lydia's links at the bottom of the descriptions, And the way and some days I think, why am I doing this? I'm just going to give up. And then I'll have a random message from someone saying, what you're doing is really helping me. What you're doing has made my difference to my day. And that makes you feel better, because I might be thinking at that point, why am I doing this? No one cares what I think. No one's listening. No one's watching. And then you get a message from someone you don't know saying, thank you. And you're like, wow. And that is, but I know that I've suffered with imposter syndrome. Definitely. And I think and it is a very valid feeling, but it can be really detrimental if you let it take over, because it can actually stop you doing something that's your true passion or your true purpose. Another video on that, I'll link it in. But it can actually really stop you, because if you think, well, I can't do that, and we'll talk about singing, for example, you know, I can't be a singer because there's already so many singers out there that are really successful. Well, it doesn't matter. You know, just go for it. If it's your passion and your purpose, go for it. Don't let those doubts stop you. And I'm lucky enough that I haven't let my doubts stop me. But it has made me question things. And probably rightly so, because actually when you question things, you talk to your friends and actually you come up with ways around it. And we've been talking about some ways around some things today and come up with really great solutions. But I think it is very real. It is very real, imposter syndrome, and it's hard. I think because you just assume. I think and I've said this before in videos, and I've said it in the book I wrote, is as adults we're expected to know the answers to everything, and actually half the time we don't, because we're all learning every day. But actually sometimes we just need to know the question to what in the first place. And I think that's probably where a lot of imposter syndrome comes from, is the fact that we just don't know what we're supposed to do. There's no rule book that says when you get to 42 years and 10 months old you should be doing this. There's no rule book in this. Every single one of us is making it up as we go along. Now there are tried and tested routes, and that's why people write books, that's why people do blogs, that's why people make videos. There are tried and tested routes, but ultimately that's someone else's journey. You've got to find your own journey to get there. And I guess that's where a lot of imposter syndrome comes from, because you've seen someone else do what you're trying to do in whatever sense, whether it's in a business or personal sense. You've seen someone else try and do it, and you think, well, they've been a huge success or a huge failure. Could be. So why would I be successful now when that person has done it before and they've either succeeded or failed? Because there is so many people out there in a tribe, but that shouldn't stop you, because everyone's journey is different.
And that links back to you comparing, doesn't it?
It does. And it links back to your goals as well, because I'm a true believer. I've got my goals, and me and Lydia are very aligned. Not our goals are aligned, as in we are aligned in the fact that we both have our goals. And I know for me, my goals have stayed the same, but my route to my goals have changed. Because I've gone down some routes and they've been dead ends, or they've just not worked, but it hasn't changed my goal. And I guess if I let imposter syndrome take over, I would have got to my first dead end and thought, well, obviously this isn't for me, and gone away. Where actually, luckily for me, I overcame it, and actually I think this really is my route. I just need to find a different direction, a different avenue to get there.
Definitely.
It's a big one. I don't know if I still understand imposter syndrome.
I think it's all linked to fear, not feeling like you're good enough. I think it's all linked to that mental health state again as well, isn't it? Upbringing, it all delves down back to that.
I think upbringing I see a lot of that with upbringing, definitely, with people that have massive self-doubt and self-esteem issues with their upbringing.
And also attachment, which we'll talk about at some point.
I think that's in next week's list, isn't it? But so imposter syndrome, what is it? Why do we feel this way? Is it a valid feeling? Yes. And how to get over it? How do we get over it? Have we talked about that?
Just how to handle it. I think I briefly touched on it earlier about your core beliefs. And you need to believe in your own self-worth. And remember that no one is perfect, and you don't need to be approved to be loved at what you're good at. But I do understand that you probably maybe need a little bit of validation, that if you're in your job, that you are doing a good job, because you don't want to be in a job that you're doing and you're not. You need to help with a little bit of help if you don't feel like you are, but just so you can hear it sometimes. A little bit of reassurance, I think.
Definitely.
Everyone needs a little bit of that.
Yeah, oh, 100%, 100%. And I wonder if that's why I struggle actually a lot with imposter syndrome, because a lot of the time I work on my own. And so I wonder if that actually affects me, because sometimes I'm sat there working away on my own. I could be on my own for hours and hours. All I've got is my headphones on, listening to music, and I'm working, and I'm coming up with ideas, but I've got no one to bounce them off. So that probably feeds my imposter syndrome sometimes when I'm on my own. Whereas when I'm with people and I'm bouncing ideas, I kind of have, it goes the other way, where I feel like I'm an expert in my field. It goes the other way. So I guess that's if you're quite isolated in doing whatever it is, in whatever area it is, whatever project it is you're working on, or whatever personal growth thing is, actually maybe that is find someone that's like-minded that you can share ideas with, and that will help to keep the imposter syndrome at bay.
Help the growth.
Yeah. Excellent. Right, is that everything?
That's it.
Right. Bye.